today, and we're going to be talking about specific use cases of the options market, right? So if VWAP is volume weighted average price, what is VPOC? Now VPOC is simply the volume point of control, or in short, the area where the largest concentration of volume is on a volume profile chart. So there is a distinction we make at VTrender when it comes to volume. 90-95% of traders, when they look at volume below the price bar. Okay. At VTrender, what we do is we focus on volume right next to the price bar, and we also focus on
Good evening, guys. A quick sound check. Am I audible? So welcome back, guys, and we are back with our weekly review on a Monday evening, 5 p.m. So let us start with what happened last week and what the weekly report says, and then we will move on to what has happened today in the auction and look for probable moves for the current week. So we have the weekly report which is posted on the website under the forum section. So we have the Nifty spot levels. The closing was 24323. The high of previous week was 24401, which was a new all-time high, and the low was 23992. So we have a daily chart up front, and we have the details of what happened each day, the levels Nifty marked along with the day type of that particular day. So what we did last week was we opened above the previous week's value and we left an A period buying tail. So this was indicating that the path of least resistance, the PLR, is going to be on the upside. So we made this A period buying tail, but we could not take off the all-time highs of the last week. And then we formed a P-shaped profile. And then Tuesday we opened with a gap up, but then the gap up did not get any demand and it left a initiative selling tail. So this A period buying tail was kind of negated by this A period selling tail, giving us a nice 2-day balance, what we call the 313 profile in market profile. So 313 profile is nothing but where we have a nice balance in the middle, and then we have uh, a nice similar kind of tails at both ends. So here, and both of them were initiative tails. So it was very clear that the auction is in equilibrium at this point, when on Tuesday we formed that B-shaped profile. So after that we opened higher and we left one A period buying tail. We negated this selling tail on the top. So this negated this sellers who had come in, but at the same time the longs could not do a very good job because they could not make a range extension to the upside. So that is what we see. How we evaluate whether the buyer or seller is in control is, first thing is we look for a tail, initiative tail in the IB, initial balance, and then we look for the market, the auction to extend the range in that particular direction. So although we had this AP rate buying tail, we could not extend higher. So that was telling us that the market is kind of tiring at this zone of new all-time highs. And then again on 4th of July, we opened with another small gap up, and we made new highs. In fact, we made new highs in the B period. After the A period, we went on to tag new highs, but we could not again extend. So what we did rather is extended on the downside, and that was the first day in the week where we made a successful range extension lower. So that was very clearly indicating that the market is getting exhausted on the top, and it may give a retracement to test lower important levels, and which is what we did. We opened lower on Friday, and in the probe down, we made similar lows, and these lows were right at this value area high of this 2-day composite. So this was telling us that the balance is still holding and the demand is holding this balance. So this I think was around 24156. I think we will see that when we open the charts. So we were holding this value. So in case we had broken into this value, then we would have got that 80% rule in this 2-day composite, because we can see we have overlapping value here. So once this held and we left similar lows in the IB initial balance, we went on to, there was no option for left for the auction but to probe higher to get sellers. So we probed higher and we closed in a spike where as we were expecting a 80% rule in this downside value, but what actually happened in the L period is we completed the 80% rule in this small upside value which we had left on 4th of July. So we went on to tag this value area high, and because it was a spike close, the spike rules would have been in play at open today. So I'll come to that, what happened today, and how what we can look forward for. So we have this daily levels with the day type, and then we have a small write up about what happened in the week, and it closes with the analysis of what the weekly profile was. It was a normal variation 1 to the upside because it was a narrow range of 408 points, and we had formed completely higher value. And we have three important HVNs at 24351, 24277, and 24137. So if we see the weekly profile chart, this is how the weekly chart looks like. We had unmerged this into daily, so what we saw previously, but this is the weekly profile. So we can see that this HVN, the lower HVN is at 24137, and then this middle one is at 24277, and this upper one is at 24351. So what was expected this week was that we can either fill up the zone between either of these HVNs, or if we get an initial move away from any of this HVN, we can look for the imbalance to the upside to continue. And we were bullish in Nifty because we had closed around the value area high. We had formed higher value on the weekly chart, and we had closed around the value area high. So there was no sign of being in anything bearish in Nifty spot. So we had these hypos for today, 24341, which was the 4th of July halfback. And why we had considered that halfback as an important reference, because that was the day where we have left a swing high after tagging all-time highs in Nifty, and that was the day where we made lower range extensions. So that is where the seller has left an imprint. So we will need to take out this 24341 on a closing basis for us to come to a conclusion that that seller has been negated. So this will remain an important level throughout this week, and we will have to take this out on a closing basis. Intraday we may test this level, we may go above this level, but on closing basis we will have to take it out for to be able to continue higher. And on the downside, we had the closing singles because it was a spike close. We had the singles from 24314 to the extension handle of 24288. And as we saw in the weekly write up, the HVNs was at 24277, and the POC from Friday was at 24251, which was an important support expected. So break of this, we could have gone for 24200 and 24146 levels in spot. So this was what was marked for in Nifty spot, and we'll quickly go through this Bank Nifty and then we will go to the charts of today. So Bank Nifty was not as simple as what Nifty did last week. As you can see, Bank Nifty, the daily chart is all over the previous week's profile and value. So what we had done in Bank Nifty was we had formed a composite P-shaped profile in the week from 24th to 28th of June. So it was a P-shape with where this POC was one important reference, which was at 52904, and the value area low was one reference. So what we did was we opened below the value on Monday, but then this open was rejected and we got back into the weekly value and we left one initiative buying tail. And then similar to Nifty, what Bank Nifty did was it just formed a P-shaped profile. So we did make range extensions to the upside, but they were marginal range extensions. We were not able to even tag the 2IB, which is 2 times the initial balance range. So that was telling us that the buyer is not doing a good job. So that is what we need to evaluate when we are following market profiles, and as market profilers, that when we see one party is trying to dominate the auction, we also need to evaluate at every stage how good that party is faring. So that by that we need to see if they are able to make good range extensions. So these were very marginal range extensions, and the fact that they were not able to complete the 2IB, nor they were able to go and tag this weekly POC, showed that the buying was not so aggressive. So what happened the next day was we opened higher, but we got rejected. And this rejection was right below that rollover point, which we had discussed last week, which was at 52830. So we opened and got rejected from there, and we went on to form an outside bar in Bank Nifty. So this is a B-shaped profile. A B-shaped profile indicates long liquidation, and the POC was at the lower side, and we closed right around the POC. But the interesting thing what happened on this day was this, even the seller was not able to do a good enough job because the range extensions, as you can see, were marginal ones. So when you see this kind of auction happening, when you see a player has entered the auction but he's not able to uh, continue the auction in his direction, so you know that there is there is equal force from the other side, and the market most likely is going to be in a range. So this H period low was right at this extension handle of the weekly, and it was also a very important reference on the monthly chart, which we had discussed on last Monday. That reference was at 51957. We had discussed this last Monday, where I had mentioned that on the monthly time frame we have left an extension handle. So whenever Bank Nifty corrects, that 51957 will be one important reference to watch. So when we left this small responsive buying tail, the low we made here was 51996, and we made this B-shaped profile. So if we had to see the seller continue its dominance, we had to open below this POC and break below this 51957 level, which did not happen. So what we did instead was we opened higher, and that triggered a very short covering move. Why it was a short covering move? Because of the profile type, we can say that, because we have a long A period tail, but after that we have nothing in terms of range extension. So this is very clearly telling us that this move was only caused by late, not late sellers or sellers who have got stuck because of the unexpected gap up. Because on this day we had formed value lower, it was a B-shaped profile, so it was all indicating that we could continue probing lower, but the gap up induced this short covering, and the confirmation that we did not get any range extension, we made the dreaded seaside, which we call the con period, the dhoka period. So we don't trust that seaside move, and after that we remained in a narrow range, and we formed this prominent POC at 53100. So it was very clear that the buying was missing in the zone higher and selling was missing in this zone lower. So below 52,000 we were not getting sellers, and above 53,200 we were not getting buyers. So on Thursday we happened to open higher, but that open was quickly rejected. and we got back into this profile, and we formed a narrow range B shaped profile here. So this was very clearly telling us there is no demand left at the top. So it was over to the sellers to take it down, and they did make that attempt, because they not only made a lower open, but they left one small selling tail on Friday and went on to make these lows. We went on to enter into this B value, but then again we saw exhaustion on the downside because the initial balance had similar lows, and we did not make any range extension to the lower side. So Bank Nifty was full of normal profiles last week. Almost all of them were normal profiles except for this 4th of July. And that was telling us that the range extension has not been successful on either side. So if we see the weekly profile, what we got on Bank Nifty was a neutral profile and with value completely overlapping previous week's value. So, but what this neutral profile also looks like is like a double distribution profile. Why? Because we have one good prominent HVN lower side, which is at 52558, and one uh, nice HVN on the upside, which is at 53100, which is also the weekly POC for the previous week. So looking at the weekly profile, there was very good chance that we continue to fill up this zone between these two HVNs. So that was what was mentioned, and overlapping value with the close near the HVN. So which will also be the immediate support. So staying above this 52558, Bank Nifty can fill up the zone up to 53100 before giving a move away from this balance. So this is what was the weekly report, and this is these are the hypos which were given out for today. So this is what happened last week. So how did we open today, and what was the uh, auction like in both Nifty and Bank Nifty? So before I come to the charts, we had few queries about how to save charts, how to form weekly charts, monthly charts, and save them. So once you whenever you open the charts.vtrender.com, the default symbol which opens is the Nifty futures. So this is the current week Nifty series. So you will have to select whichever symbol you want to save the chart of. For example, if we want to do Nifty spot TPO, we go to the Nifty spot TPO, and on the downside bottom left, you have the options of selecting the time frame. So because we are in spot, we have daily, we have weekly calendar, and we have monthly calendar. Weekly series and monthly series is better used for the futures chart because we have the weekly settlement in that. So on spot, it is spot TPO charts. It is better we go for the calendar week and the calendar month. So in case you want to look for the monthly chart of Nifty spot, you just need to go to the bottom part and click on the calendar month, which will give you the monthly spot. And how do you save this? You have an option on the top right to save these charts, and you can bookmark them so that you don't need to again and again go to that time frame and then watch the monthly chart. By the click of by one click, you should be able to save this chart. You have categories wherein you can just add in a new category. I have already saved, so I have one category named as Nifty, and then you can put in the title. So what I'll do is I'll just so Nifty spot is my category, and Nifty and Nifty monthly is my title of the chart. So this is how you can save these charts. So now if I go to my bookmark, I already have a lot of bookmark, but you can see the latest bookmark which I have saved, which will come as Nifty monthly, and it is come in the Nifty spot category. So all I need to do is go to my bookmarks and click on this, and it will open the monthly chart which we have just saved. Another way of going to the chart which you have saved is clicking on this. You have a bookmark link here, and it will throw up all the bookmarks which you have, and you can select which bookmark you want to go for. So this is how you can save charts. You can also go for the weekly series like that. And as you can see, I have saved bookmarks on that basis. I have the daily Nifty spot, the daily Nifty weekly spot, and the monthly spot. So all I need to do is click on this and that chart opens. So now when we are talking about the weekly spot, I'll just open on the bookmark which has the weekly spot saved, and it'll give me the weekly chart. So let us see what we have done today in Nifty spot compared to the weekly chart. So as you can see, we have formed a narrow range balance. I'll just increase the TPO of this. We have formed a narrow range balance, and it was a neutral day because the initial balance was in a very narrow range, and we can see how we have taken support in the initial balance at that POC of 24250, which was Friday's POC. I'll just unmerge this so that we can see the daily chart also. And on the upside, how that weekly HVN of 24351 was holding the support. So this is where we stopped in the morning. The AP rate low was right at the POC of Friday, and on the upside, we were stalling at the POC of 4th of July. So because this was a spike, we did not get above this spike zone. So that was telling us very clearly that the move which we saw at close on Friday was more a short covering move rather than a move which was caused by some fresh buying which came in into the close. If this was fresh buying, they would have opened above this spike and we would have taken out this swing high also of 24401. So what we have done in Nifty spot today is formed a neutral day with a nice balanced look, and a very prominent POC at 24292. So when we get this kind of a profile, it is very likely that we get a move away from this zone. But provided that we have been in this zone for the last week, last 3 days, we will like a piece of puzzle which needs to be attached to this the value area high of this and the value area low along with the POC, and see what the auction is doing at open tomorrow. So the value area high is at 24319, which is where we have closed today. Today's closing is at 24320. So we will need to remain above this 24320 to remain bullish in Nifty. Whereas if we get back into this value, there is a good chance that we continue to form a balance in this zone with the downside objective being 24215, and of course the POC in between, which is at 24277. So that is what we are looking at for tomorrow. Because the market is in a narrow range balance, we expect that the balance will continue unless we get a signal in live market that it is ready to move away. How do we get the signal that it is ready to move away? If we get an A period buying tail at the value area high, so that will be our first signal. So that is telling us that the initiative move is coming from above this value, or if we are getting a selling tail below this value area low. And as I had spoken about last week, first 2 days being a 313 balance, we can also see, oh, look at Nifty staying above the 24320 level tomorrow at open. And in case we are leaving a buying tail from there, all the much better. So here on the downside, what we spoke about in the just some time back was this 2 day balance. The value area high is at 24163. And that is exactly where we made those poor lows on Friday. So in case we break this, we have a very good chance of completing the 80% rule in this balance. And then we can look for more downside with this weekly profile coming into play. Can the audio is fine, guys? Okay, I think there is some issue with the internet, but I think now it's back. Am I audible now? Is it it is still breaking? Yeah, I think it is fine now. I think there was some issue with the bandwidth, and because of which there was that break. It should be fine now. So continuing forward. So so that is what that is how we are placed for tomorrow. I'll have a quick look at the Nifty spot chart, daily references for the week ahead. So we have already marked out what level we need to look out at open tomorrow, which will be 24320 on the upside. So this is the daily chart of Nifty spot, and you can see how today's profile is very neatly formed value in the spike zone. This is the spike zone. So auction does not move away from a zone until it is completed what it has to do. So that is what it is doing. It is completing the auction. It is auctioning this zone very well. So that is a very good sign, and we'll need to be patient here, because once it does, it will give us a good move away. But till it does not, we cannot look for trending moves or a move of 100 points in 30 minutes or so, because we need to understand that the market is right now forming a balance. So when we get the signal that is moving away from this balance, that is where we can expect the range expansion to happen, and that confirmation will also come in the futures chart along with the order flow signals. So right now we can very clearly see the value is up one day, down one day, and today it is in middle of the last 2 days values. So when we have this kind of a profile, it is an indication that a good move is coming. Which direction we will have to wait for the open type, and then see when which of the day in at the open gives a move away from this composite balance. So it could be tomorrow, and it could be on the weekly expiry, but we will have to be patient and get that confirmation. We cannot predict as of today what is the direction that the market can give us. But yes, we have references. Those references we will have to see what the market does. So that is as far as the spot Nifty is concerned. On the downside, we have these VPOCs. You have this nice 3-day composite from 28th June to 2nd July. So if we probe lower, this would be our zone to watch. And if we further break lower, then we will have this 23950 as a lower objective in this for this week. So for this to happen, we will have to get one selling tail moving away from this value, and then we will have to get into this value area zone. So in case there are any queries, I'll take a pause and take those questions before we move to the Bank Nifty today's auction and then the futures chart. Fine. I guess there are no queries. So let us shift our focus to the Bank Nifty profile chart. Let us start with the weekly profile and see what the auction has done today in the weekly chart, and then we will move on to the daily, just like we did in Nifty spot. So this is the weekly profile chart of Bank Nifty, and you can see how we have been forming overlapping value, and today was a continuation of what we have been doing in Bank Nifty the last week. So we were around the lower HVN of 52558, which I had mentioned, and we have formed a nice balanced profile today. We made an attempt to extend lower, but again we could not do much on the downside, and we have stayed in the same range. And this is the third week where we are in the same range. So we will have to be patient and look for further cues for us to be able to uh, see what the auction is trying to do and get along in that direction. So if I look at the daily will give us little more insights about what the bank nifty is doing and what is the PLR in this path of least resistance. So if we go to what happened last week, we can see this initiative selling tail at new all-time highs on the 4th of July. So this is a special case wherein the auction has got into a zone which it has never had done previously, and it leaves a period tail. So this has got lot of importance because this is giving a sign that there is no demand here, and because of which the sellers have come back. And from this zone, the seller was able to make lower value the next day and remained below it. It closed in the profile. But the other part aspect of it was the seller was not able to make range extensions to the downside. So here again we have an AP rate selling tail on Friday also, which will be the first reference for supply selling zone to watch on in the coming days. And today what we have done is we again made an attempt to get above this value, but we got rejected and we remained in previous days range almost all day. But again on the downside you don't see good facilitation happening, because just like how we left similar lows on Friday, we have left similar lows today also. So these 2 days are overlapping values, so we can merge them to get a composite balance and look at this value as a zone for tomorrow's auction. So because Nifty left a swing high, but it is not given any other cue. But in Bank Nifty, we have got this AP rate selling tail, and then we have formed lower value on the 2-day composite, not just for tomorrow, but also for this weekly settlement. So if we remain below this value, we'll be looking for downside references in Bank Nifty, which would be this VPOC of 52160, and then this extension handle of 51957, which we had spoken. And if this breaks, then the lower objective would be this lower VPOC of 5161635. So this is how we will look for objectives in Bank Nifty as and when we get that confirmation in live market that the auction is getting rejected from this value or getting an initiative move to the downside from this value. Whereas on the upside, in case we open above this POC and we open above this value, then we can look for a fill up between these two VPOCs, this 52411 and 52961. So that is what we will have to look for in Bank Nifty spot for tomorrow as well as the weekly settlement, and then trade it as the day develops. So if we get an initiative buying tail at this value area, then we will look for upside, and those that upside will have to be confirmed by higher highs after the initial balance, which is from the D period onwards. We will need to make range extensions higher, and then one of the objective of this would be 52961, and then we have that weekly POC of 53100 also as the up next objective above this. So this is what we will have to look for in the Bank Nifty spot in this week and see how it goes. So coming to the futures chart, and then one last look we will have at the options chart. And because today was a very narrow range day, how to use the option charts of both market profile and order flow to take trades on a day like today. So I have the Nifty daily profile chart of the July series, so I'll just open that. So we can see here we have formed a neutral center day, and with the POC volumes almost coming up to the closing price, the POC had almost shifted to this level, but we are not very far away from the actual POC of the profile chart. So the Nifty is formed a balance. We have been in this range. The 4th of July has given us one swing high at 24455, and then after which we made a probe lower. But just like we saw in spot, we have taken support at this value area high, and value area high 24240, which was also the highs of the first day of this July series. So 24240 is one important reference, and 24240 is the low we made in spot also today. So on the downside, we will have to break that. Exhaustion is seeing today was a very low volume. I think today's was one of the lowest daily volumes we recorded in Nifty futures in 2024. So it is telling us that the auction is coiling and waiting for some institutional activity to take it away from here. So what kind of volumes come in at open tomorrow or on the Wednesday, or it can also happen on the weekly settlement of Thursday. We will have to uh, then take a call of where the auction is headed for. So today, because it made multiple range extensions lower, but you can see D, E, F, G, all of them have made similar lows, and this all these similar lows are right at this anchored VWAP which we have from the 1st of July, where we had left that swing low of 24,082. So it is very so this tells you how these anchored VWAP which we can mark, that how long they will hold. In case they're not able to break this, then that means the buyers of that day are still defending this level. So what do we need to do is this: we need to see some IS bars in order flow, initiative selling bars in order flow at this 24291 level. And once we do that, we are on for the test of the 24240 and the VPOC of 24202. So that is as far as the downside is concerned. On the upside, we have this profile from 4th of July, where we saw some good selling coming in, and because we left a scene of crime here at 24444, we have a responsive selling tail at 24444 in that, and in the order flow we have seen a RS bar forming. So what we can do is we can have the order flow 30-minute order flow chart along with the market profile, so that we can compare where actually the volumes are coming in. So I'm just switching the 30-minute order flow charts of Nifty futures, and I'll take you quickly to that zone of 4th of July. You can see in the B period, we made this high and we left that POC at 24445, and immediately the next bar on 30 minutes was an IS bar. So when you get this RS plus IS on a 30-minute bar, it is very clearly telling us this zone is being controlled by the sellers. So that is why this 24444 is one reference which we have to take out with initiative buying bars in order flow for more upside in Nifty futures. Till we do not see this happening, we can look for Nifty continuing with the balance or then a probe lower. So I'll also again see how the move lower on Friday got us this RB bar at 24240, and from there we remained above VWAP all day, and which is what necessitated that spike. You can see this pullback low late in the day also, where we have taken support right at that VWAP. We did break below this for a very small time, but immediately we saw this getting rejected, and this rejection saw some good greens coming back into the auction, which caused that spike. So you can see this POC of this IB bar, which was a 2234370, which was our spike low, also the spike zone. But as we say spike, we cannot trust a spike, just like we cannot trust a seaside extension. Whenever we get a spike, what we do is we follow the spike rule. Then what does the spike rule say? Spike rule says that the spike zone is what the auction has to takeout for remaining bullish. So in case these buyers were present and had not booked out, we had to open above this spike high of 2414419. So that did not happen, and what we did instead was we broke below the spike lows. So that is the reason we probed lower in the morning, and we went on to tag the POC of Friday. And then in the next attempt in the C period, again we stalled right at the uh, POC of the A period we had formed today. We could not make this range extension, and it was a typical C side. Although it did not extend the initial balance, it told us that there is no demand coming at the IBH. So it again went on to make new lows, but in the new lows, then we saw a good buyer coming in. 1676 green came in. That was, I think, the biggest buyer of the day, and we saw that also in the 3 minute order flow. And immediately we knew that we had to cut off our shorts. And this level of 24290 we also saw in the profile chart, which was matching with that anchored VWAP. So that is the reason we need to have the order flow aligning with the important references we have on the market profile. So when we have these kind of confirmations, we know that we are not going to short in this zone unless we get an IS bar. And on the upside, we know that 24380 is a level where we can look for responsive selling activity and look for to play rotational. So that was the theme today. We were forming a balance, and we were it was good to fade the extreme. We cannot fade the extreme on all days, but when you know the day structure is that, so for good part of the day, at least till the K period, you can definitely look for playing out the fading out the extremes. After the K period, there is a chance that we can get some volumes and we can get some player who is trying to push the auction because of lack of volumes in the for the rest of the day. So we don't look for range retracement trades in the K, L, and M period. We look for some initiative volumes backed by the order flow signals. So till the uh, J period today, we could have looked to fade these extremes. We had the extreme marked out by this POC of 24368 on the upside and this 24290 on the downside. So whenever the auction was coming in this zone, we could look for small plays. And because we cannot expect all days to be same, today was a day where you should have been happy with smaller ranges, or best you should just have watched the auction and not looked at trade, because there was no trending move which we got today. So we will the market profile and the structure will give us those indications about when we have a trending move and when we have a retracement move. Because when we are going near the lows, we are getting RB bars even on the 30 minutes, and when we are going near the highs, we are getting the RS bars. So that itself is telling us that it is just filling up the composite, and it is testing the extremes. When a role reversal happens, so this extreme, one of these extremes will give us initiative signals, not responsive signals. That will be the time when we have to look for a trend and sit tight on our positions. So this is how we are placed in the Nifty futures. And comparing with the order flow of Friday, you can see how on Friday we had opened of the VWAP of this profile, the 3rd of July, 24332. So you can see in order flow, the high was right there, and we had zeros on the buy side. So this was very clearly telling us that the PLR is to the downside. So till we saw this RB bar forming at another important reference, we remained short. But this RB forming tells us that now the downside is getting limited. So this is how we'll need to play this out. And coming to the last profile chart of the Bank Nifty futures. So this is the Bank Nifty profile chart, and here you can see we don't have a initiative selling tail like what we had in spot. But still, what we have formed is a trend line, 2-day balance at new all-time highs of 53089, which is coinciding with the spot level of 5300. So this will also be one reference in Bank Nifty futures. And today we have formed an inside bar both in terms of range and value. So we can make a composite of these 2 days and have that as a reference for tomorrow's play. And if I take you to the order flow charts of Bank Nifty, a quick look at what happened on Friday at open will tell you how today's open was in stark contrast to what open we got on Friday. So today was an open auction in range and the volumes also were very low. The first 15-minute volumes in Bank Nifty futures was only 20,000 contracts, whereas on Friday we had almost double of these volumes. The first 15-minute volumes were, sorry, 38,000. And not only were we able to take those trades, but we were also able to on Friday were booking out. So it also gave us the sign that don't look for more downside, because we saw some big greens and an RB bar forming on the 3-minute time frame. And Bank Nifty futures has made some important lows at that 52,300 level, which was the weekly VWAP just when our July series started. When July series started, the week prior to the July series, we had the weekly VWAP at 52,500, 52,300, and that is where repeatedly it has taken support. Last week we have do days where we have made lows of 50 to 300. So it is very clear that 50 to 300 on the downside will have to be broken by an IS for us to probe lower in Bank Nifty, and our target would be this VPOC of 51847 and this VWAP of 51716. So this is the Friday's order flow chart, and you can see how we opened lower and we have all zeros on the buy side volume, whereas the sell side are big numbers. So the opening bar itself was telling us that our IS are at 921, and this IS was followed by a record 3 more IS bars, and you can see how the COT is also supporting this. So this is a very classic case of the volume supporting, the order flow supporting, the COT supporting. So there is no reason why you should not be going short on this day and load yourself with P's, puts. So this, in fact, the 921 bar was a signal that you need to dive in, and your stop loss would have been the POC of the previous bar, which was also as good as an IS. So this, and what happened was the 930 bar was a big one. In fact, it made a huge range. And what we saw in that 930 bar is 3,840 greens. So when you see this kind of a huge number on a 3-minute chart, you know that the big player is booking out. And more confirmation came in because we were not able to break the low of this bar. So order flow did not show us any volume below 52,316, but the actual low of this bar was at 52,300. So we were not able to break below this, and you can see zeros at the lower end. So this is telling us that the not just the profit booking has happened by sellers, but we also got to know that the seller is not coming back, because when we got back to VWAP, Bank Nifty was very easily able to get back above VWAP. So this was the sign that the morning seller has just packed his bags and gone off for the weekend. He made his moolah. He opened, uh, sold big, huge, got that move, and booked profits and his closure shop. So this is how order flow helps us to uh, define which is a day where you need to go out aggressively and which is a day where you need to hold back. So as I was saying, you can see how the lows of this 930 bar was again tested here at 954, but what we got was an RB bar, RB signal. So this was reconfirming that this there is no selling coming, no fresh initiative selling coming in this zone. So this is what we need to look for going forward. Even for this weekly settlement, we need some selling to show up at this 50 to 300 level for us to go lower for that 51847 and 51576. And comparing this with today's volumes, today was a very poor volume day both in Nifty futures and we kind of continued forming the balance. Chart, and you can see how 52 460, which was a HVN from Friday, was holding the lows at the open. So we took support here, and when we probe lower, we got this big seller at 52 788, and this also was the previous week's VWAP. So if I show you the weekly profile chart of the Bank Nifty futures, you can very clearly see how that 52 300 and 52 790 levels are important zones for this week. So this is that 52 300 I was talking about, the 28th to 26th June week, and this has been tested in the week next after, which came after that, where we have left this responsive buying tail. And then again last week we made a low of 52 300, and today also we were holding just above this VWAP. And on the upside, you can see these two weekly VWAP is at 52793, which is where we got that big seller again at the open today. So this is what we need to look for. This one of these weekly VWAPs has to break with a initiative signal. Only then we can get a move away. So if we break this 52791 with an IB in order flow tomorrow, we can look for upside levels 53089 and then the new all-time high. On the downside, if we break this 52 300 with an IS, we can look for filling up of this zone and the tag of this HVN, the high volume zone. So 51775 would be our objective on the downside. So this is how the Bank Nifty futures is placed. In case there are any queries, I'll answer them before we call it a day today. And we do have daily reports which go out along with the weekly reports. So based on what happens today, we have a plan ready for what we can expect and what the levels we need to watch for tomorrow would be. So a quick look at the order flow chart of options for today's trade. Because we are forming a balance, so I have the 24,200 call option on my left, the market profile chart, and the order flow charts on the right. So how do we trade options using these? So our understanding, we know that market is forming a balance and we know that it is doing retracement trades. So how do we take these retracement trades? Either we'll have to see where the composite is, we'll have to take the composite high, composite low, and look for responsive activity at that level for a retracement trade, or we will have to mark the value and then accordingly look to trade that value, fade the value. So today in this call, we had the value area low at 140 and the value area high at 193. So both these zones were zones which you could have faded using the order flow. So what I have on screen is the 3-minute order flow chart, where just before the G period started, if I split this chart, I'm just giving an example of how we can use the combination of market profile and order flow in options also, but definitely based on what the structure of the day is. So here, when you're looking for responsive activity, you can take look. You can see how right at this value area low of 139, we have got this RB bar. This RB bar is an indication that you can take a low risk long in this call for a move to the VWAP and the value area high. So which we call is the 80% rule. So this is what we did in this option. Once we got that RB, we went on to tag the VWAP, and then we went on to tag the value area high. So definitely you will have to position your trade and part book at VWAP and make sure that you don't lose money in this trade, so that you trail your entry to cost once the first objective is met. But this is how you will look for. And when do we know that we are getting an initiative? So here you can see, even before tagging that 190 3 level, we were getting RS bars right at today's value itself. So these are what you need to do. And if you understand what the structure of the day is, if you have a trending day, then you will not look at retracement trades. In fact, you look at retracements and you look for signals to enter the trend which is there. When we are forming a balance, we would want to fade the balance, the extremes of the balance. So this is one thing which you could have done today, because the range was small and there was hardly any good trade setup which had come in. So you can see how when we got above this value area high, we have formed this RS bar. So you patiently wait for what happens and then look to either fade. So similarly, if you want to look for a move away from this value, you need an IB bar at this level. So only then we know that this call or put can give us a trending move. So a similar kind of a play was there in the put chart also at the close. So here what has happened is, we almost tested the lows of Friday at the close. We had a kind of a swipe in the L period, and when that happened, we made a low of 184. So here you can see the lower side has hardly got any volumes. So it was very clear that this can get back into the value and go towards the VWAP. So that was these kind of plays is what you can do, because this was at the fag end of the day. It went on to make a high of 217. But these are the trades you can look for in option charts when you're looking to fade the extremes. So after this, if you get an RB plus an IB, so nothing like that. So then you get all the more confirmation that that VWAP tag is coming after you have got this RB at the extreme. And then at the VWAP, if you're getting that, you can look for the value area high tag. So that is how you will look to trade and take these setups and use these charts, use the features which we have on VTrender charts to the maximum. So there is a request for line charts. Nagaraj, what line charts do you want to watch for options? So in case I want to, you can quickly go to the line charts. You have the option on the top bottom left of line charts. So it will quickly take me to the line chart of that particular option. And so this is the line chart of the 24 500 put. So you can see how we have formed a balance, because we have been in a range all day. But important levels to take from this line chart is this POC of 225 and this VWAP of 232. So tomorrow, if we get above this POC and VWAP, what will be our objective? The higher POCs. The higher POCs, one is at 262 and the higher one is at 319, which will be our targets if we get a move tomorrow in this put. So that is how we watch the line charts for probable targets. We will have to wait. First thing is for this option to get about the POC and VWAP of the previous day, and then look at higher POCs of that option for as targets. And all the while when we are doing this, we will have to get that confirmation on the order flow charts that when we get about this POC and VWAP, we are getting an initiative buying bar on the 3-minute order flow. So that is how we use line charts to trade options. And with the line chart, as I said, we can have a 2-window mode with the order flow charts on the right hand side. So that is it for today, guys. In case there are any queries, please feel free to push them before we can wind up for the day. And also you can mail us at support@vtrender.com, and you can also DM me on X. My ID is at Uttam Goel. Nikhil has got a question how we can change the dark screen view mode. We don't have that option as of now, Nikhil, but maybe going forward we will have that option for the, because we are more concentrated on getting all the features added up and working on getting new latest features which is helping us, and accordingly we will go for that. You can anyways send us a mail, charts@vtrender.com, with your suggestions, and they'll definitely see what can happen. Fine then, guys. So that's it for today. Thanks for joining in, and let's see if we can get a good week ahead after today's narrow range day in both Nifty and Bank Nifty. So signing off for now, and let's catch up again for such sessions, and look for some wonderful trading opportunities as we go along. Thank you all.